Hi everyone. I thought I'd do an update video. I have quite a lot of mealworms at the moment. I had been putting them up for sale. I hadn't had a lot of interest, so in the wake of the bushfires here in Australia, I've decided not to sell any worms anymore, and I'm actually going to be donating them to the wildlife rescue places. So I've sort of ramped up my operation a bit, expanded it out a bit, just to make more space for the worms to grow and to be able to keep more beetles, to be able to keep up. So this is where I am at the moment. This is my original beetle container. There's quite a few in here, but I just don't have numbers. I just don't know. So these have been, I've had these for quite a while. And of course they die off as they do. And I'm constantly being replaced with fresh guys. So their brand was changed yesterday. So yeah, so this is the new fresh batch. Now the stuff that I took out of here, the eggs that I sifted out of here, I'm quite certain there are actually mites amongst them. So I'm working on controlling mites at the moment, and it wasn't just from that lot, which I thought was mite free. I have another lot which is here. You'll see I've got containers in here. I've actually learnt a tip from another mealworm farmer at South Coast Mealworms. I'm hoping I got the name right. The guy there has some tips on helping rid of mites, and it's actually working. So this is just a container with some oil and chicken crumbles, poultry crumbles, which attract the mites into the container, and they drown in the oil. So, and also wet food, anything moist attracts them. So I don't see a lot of activity in here at the moment of mites. I check the containers each day to see if there is anything, but mostly they like getting on the moist food. So what I have done is collected the moist food, actually rinsed them under the tap and returned the food to the worms. So there are worms in here. They're not big worms, but there are in here. You can see some movement here. But don't even know if I got one then. So yeah, I'm just tackling that at the moment. There is this container and a few more trays which I'll show you. So yes, and the problem with the mites being in there is that I can't sift out and start off with a fresh batch of bran for the worms, because the worms are all different sizes and some of them just go through the sieve. So I have to bear with it for the moment, for the time being. And in the tips from South Coast Mealworms is to run petroleum jelly, or what else is it called? Vaseline around the edges. You can't really see it very well, but that's to stop any mites from getting out and mites getting in too. So from that batch that I mentioned that I've sifted out, I've actually collected the remnants from the eggs that I sifted out from the last beetles sifting. So I've put the rest of their stuff in here. There are worms in here. I've actually seen them. They've gotten through the smallest sieve that I have. So, and there is possibly mites. So also I've put it in a separate container. I've run the petroleum jelly around the sides so I can keep an eye on that. And the eggs from that last sift are here. Again, I've labelled it, and mites question mark. So I can keep an eye on the activity for the mites themselves. They are hard to see with the eyes, but I can see movement. I can just do a quick check if that is actually worms or if it's mites. Let me see. I apologise for the fridge in the background, just started up, but yes, there is mites activity in there. I can see them running along my bit hard. You can actually see them. So yeah, I have to keep monitoring them. I have stopped my use of tea bags simply because the moisture attracts the mites and they multiply. So for the purpose of me ramping up my exercise, I have actually, at my operation, I've actually got these new trays here. And I've set up my old rainbow trays that I had tucked away and forgot about, so they're out and about. But back over here, so these are the mealworms that I'm actually, most of these are ready to go. They're a good size. I'm collecting the pupa from them as well. I'm keeping others in the fridge as well, which I'll show you in a moment. So these worms are a good size. Any pupa I collect out of here obviously goes elsewhere. He's just shed his skin. So that's those guys. A little bit further down in size are these guys. So they're coming up. That will be sifted out today. That's my next job for the day. So down in size from there is these trays, which I said, sorry, that's the fridge tray, so I'll come up a couple more. Now this one, these 4 trays, this one and the 3 below it, oops, I've had mite activity, so I also have the oil and things in there to attract them, but also to feed the young worms that are in there. This tray is starting to move. I'll just bring it up. This does have small mealworms in here, plus yes, mite activity. See if I can find some baby worms. Not really in that one, but they are in there. Just I don't want to spend all the whole time trying to find them for you. So yes, that one, this one also have the bait in there, basically you can call it, to attract any mites. This tray, sorry, this has actually got the wheels in water, so that there's no chance anything on the floor can come up. As I did find many on the floor. It's another container that's there for the purpose of collecting any mites. They go in there, they get attracted to the food, and yeah, die in there. So the new pupa that are coming from this tray are coming over to here. As you can see, there's not a lot in there now. For my records, yes, this is the last 2 weeks. So it's 507 blah 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 beetles that have pupated. I have most of them in here, and I've taken some out of that one and put it into the next tray. So this is the next lot of beetles that are getting filled up. So I'm just keeping a tally on what is actually pupating, and doesn't mean they're all going to survive, but it's just so I know how many is approximately in each tray, and that way I can balance out if there's too many in each tray. So yeah, that's slowing down. Now the stuff that I said was in the fridge, that's these 2 guys. There's 2 trays the same as this. These guys go into the fridge to slow down their metabolism. They are big mealworms. just to slow them down so that I can keep them longer for when I hand them over to wildlife. So we've had a lot of, you hear about the kangaroos and the koalas, which is just devastating. But there are the other wildlife, the smaller things, the ones that like mealworms, bats, and little marsupials. Also the typical things like frogs and other things like that. So what I do with these is I keep them in the fridge for a week. I mark when they're due to go back into the fridge. So I keep them in the fridge for a week, so it keeps them dormant. I bring them out for a day, like 24 hours, and feed them. So they get a good feed, they keep up growing without pupating. And what does pupate, like this guy here, I'm actually separating them into their own little container, because I want to know if the refrigeration affects the pupa. So what I've been doing is just separating them out into this little container here, and if these die off, I know that the fridge affects the pupa as well. So that way, instead of putting them in there with the rest, I can keep them separate just to test out if they actually develop or if they die off, because I do have a few here that have died off. That's not just in one day, that's just over a matter of the last couple of weeks. So it may be to do with the fridge, it may not. So that's my way of testing out a few things just to see. So these guys will go back into the fridge at the end of today, and I'll let them sit in there for another week, bring them back out again, feed them up, and yeah, and so on until I get to hand them over. Still waiting for contact about where exactly I'm taking them, so I want to try and help if I can. So that's where I'm at the moment. Hopefully I will get to use all these new trays that I've got started, or prepared for anyway. So yeah, if there's any questions or comments, please do, and yeah, I will do another video at some stage and see where I'm at with my extra mealworms. But yes, that's getting sifted right about now. Thanks for watching. Bye.